wishing people a happy Hijri calendar or happy Hijri year, the beginning of the Hijra year. First of all, we all have to understand that the beginning of the Islamic calendar actually was decided at the era of Umar ibn Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, when he consulted the companions and many of at-tabi'in with regards to the best time that they should take as the beginning of the Islamic calendar. And they've all agreed after many proposals that the Hijrah was the greatest event. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِلَّا تَنصُرُوهُ فَقَدْ نَصَرَهُ اللَّهُ إِذْ أَخْرَجَهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا ثَانِيَ اثْنَيْنِ. Because Allah considered the Hijrah the actual beginning of the Muslim state. And He considered it victory without any bloodshed, without fighting. So that was decided at the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. Secondly, the Hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ did not take place in the month of Muharram. As a matter of fact, it started in Safar and it ended in Shahr Rabi' al-Awwal. So it is just a date. So that's why it's an unprecedented, something that did not happen at the time of the Prophet or the companions, that they wished each other a happy Hijri year, because it was not a Eid. It was not a Eid. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when he observed people celebrating different days, he said, no, we only have two holidays, two Eids, two festivals, Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. And each one of them follows a great act of worship. Eid al-Adha follows the Hajj, and Eid al-Fitr crowns the fasting during the month of Ramadan. So if somebody tells me, happy Hijri year, I would say, same to you, and thank you so much. I would not turn him down. But it is not something that is stated in the Sunnah to wish each other a happy Hijri Eid, like the two Eids. Wishing each other a happy and a blessed Friday, when it happens occasionally, as if it is not something that is prescribed, that is okay as well. So it is not something that every Friday we have to tell people happy jumu'ah or may an accepted jumu'ah or any of that. It is a holiday, but the greeting itself, when it happens as a dua, fine, but it is not something that we have to greet each other with. Similar to some cultural traditions following the prayers. Some people believe that if you finish the prayer, you must shake hands with the person to your right and the person to your left and wish them an accepted prayer. Not only that, wish them that inshallah they're going to pray in the haram by saying haraman. What's really interesting is that the person has to answer you saying jam'an, hopefully all of us together. When it happens occasionally, when you're praying for somebody, that's fine. But when some people believe it is an essential part of the prayer and the prayer is invalid without it, then it becomes problematic. This is definitely an innovation. And the best proof to that is when you see people are coming from those cultures and performing Hajj or Umrah, they're praying where? In the Haram. Normally the dua that they make and the greeting that they exchange after the prayer in their cultures is haraman, which is, I hope that we get to pray in the haram. So you're already in the haram. What is the purpose of saying haraman again while you are already in the haram? Indicating that is something that's not from the sunnah. But when somebody says, happy and accepted Jumu'ah, I would say same to you, and no problem. Happy and accepted and happy new Hijri year, I say same to you. The difference between information and knowledge, and obviously you mentioned the knowledge that the people accumulate or pile up in Islamic knowledge versus practice, that they don't put this into practice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sorted this out in the Quran when He said in an ayah, and this ayah, even though it labels Bani Israel because it talks about the Torah, but it is much more general and it has a broader meaning than to limit it only to Bani Israel. It is criticizing a behavior rather than just certain people. He said, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ حُمِّلُوا التَّوْرَاةَ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَحْمِلُوهَا كَمَثَلِ الْحِمَارِ يَحْمِلُ أَسْفَارًا. The parable of those who have been given the Torah, but they did not act upon it, exactly like a donkey. Its back is loaded with asfar, with books. The donkey does not read. the donkey does not understand what he is carrying on its back. So this is the similarity between somebody who studies and learns and have knowledge, but he does not put this knowledge into practice. So that's why I said it is much general to limit it to certain people. Whenever a Muslim is studying and studying and studying, but he is completely disconnected in his practice from the study and the knowledge that he accumulated and piled up, then he is undergoing the same example that Allah mentioned in the Quran and displays this practice. مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ حُمِّلُوا التَّوْرَاةَ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَحْمِلُوهَا كَمَثَلِ الْحِمَارِ يَحْمِلُ أَسْفَارًا. With regards to Al-Imam Al-Ghazali, he was born in the 5th Hijri century. He was exactly born the year 450 after the migration of the Prophet ﷺ. So that was after the 3 best generations that the Prophet ﷺ predicted. And afterward the fitan have started and so on. His name is Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Tusi because he was born in Tus. So what about Al-Ghazali? Al-Ghazali is not actually a name. Al-Ghazali was the nickname of his father. He earned that name due to the fact that he was working in the ghazl, weaving and textiling. He used to make carpets and stuff like that from al-ghazl. So accordingly, he was given this name, like a saqqa for a water bearer who gives people water. The shoemaker would be given a title due to his job, and so on. So he was given this name due to this fact, but his name is Muhammad ibn Ahmad Tusi. What really concerns us most after knowing his name, where he was born, what year he was born in, his education and his background. He was a great philosopher as far as philosophy. And he studied different types of philosophy, even non-Islamic philosophy. And that affected his Islamic studies as well, and it reflected on his writings. He was a great imam and a great writer, but he had tasawwuf in most of his writings. Tasawwuf to some of the extent that in order to read his books, you have to be aware of the proper aqidah, be able to pick and choose. So he was a great author, he was a great writer, and one of his books, very famous, is Ihya Ulum al-Din, and it is a marvelous book. But we do not advise the beginners of seekers of knowledge to read this book, because the book is full of weak and fabricated hadith and some misunderstandings or improper understanding of the aqidah issues. And that's why I would refer you to the books of Ibn al-Qayyim, for instance, in a state. It is also known that Al-Imam al-Ghazali, may Allah have mercy on him, towards the end of his life, he repented from this extreme tasawwuf, and he has great writings as well. But I would say, for beginners, rather read the books of Ibn al-Qayyim in a state. Afterward, when you are excelled in different fields of religious knowledge, and you know what's sound, what's profound, and what's weak, and you can find out the weak points, perhaps you can read those books as well.